Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create a winter watercolour scene using distress inks. So the first thing I'm going to do is prep my cardstock with my anti-static tool because I'm going to be heat embossing some Christmas trees. And the cardstock that I'm using today for the watercolour background is the Daler & Rowney, the Langton hot pressed £140 cardstock, and I've cut this down to fit an A6 note card size greetings card. So I'm using Versamark embossing ink and Hero Art white embossing powder, and I'm just stamping out the tree images and then putting the embossing powder over top so I can see where I've stamped those images. So once I've stamped those 3 trees, I'm going to use my heat tool to quickly emboss those trees. Now with this being watercolour paper, it will warp when I do some watercolour anyway, so I'm not going to worry too much at the moment, and I'll flatten it out a bit later on. So once I've finished heat embossing, I'm then ready to start painting. So for me, I use a piece of cardstock in a punch pocket little holder so that I can stamp the or squish the ink onto this and see the colour whilst having a slick surface that I can pick up the ink from while painting. Some people use a laminated piece of cardstock. This is just what I have on hand. So I'm starting by picking up some shabby shutters, and I'm using a lot of water with this because I'm going to be doing a lot of layers. So for the trees itself, I'm going to use shabby shutters as the base, and then I will build up the colour with mowed lawn. So I'm starting with the shabby shutters and using quite a lot of water and painting in between those embossed lines before I then go in with the mowed lawn to then add a brighter green. And as you'll see, I'll start to build up the colour. I add again a lot of water so that it blends quite well. If I do get harsh lines, you can't see because it's off camera, but I just have a jar of water, and here I've just picked up some clear water and I'm just blending that all out so it's smoother, and then I'll keep going in with that mowed lawn to add different shades of green on top to build up some nice colourful layers. So once I've finished with the trees, I then use a kitchen towel just to wipe away that ink before putting down my next lot of colours. So for the snowbank at the bottom of the card, I'm going to use the cracked pistachio and stormy skies. So they're kind of an aquary, icy blue and a darker blue colour. So I'm going to start by adding quite a lot of water to the paper again so that the ink moves well on the page and it doesn't stay in one place. It tends to blend and bleed out into a nice smooth colour. So I'll just add a lot of water, and then I'll pick up some of that cracked pistachio and start to put that down first. And a lot of the time I'm just picking up some ink and then dabbing it in the places that I want. There's nothing too tricky about this. I just play around with what I want to do. I kind of experiment and hope for the best a lot of the time. And yeah, so I pick up some of that darker blue just so that it stands out a bit more. And here I'm doing the kind of initial snowbank, and then I will dry this with my heat tool and then go in with some more of that cracked pistachio and stormy skies to put in a second snowbank, just to give it a bit more interest. For the final section of the painting, I'm going to be doing the sky, and I'm using Victorian Velvet, Shaded Lilac and Blueprint Sketch. So again, I'm going to put down a lot of water before I add the ink to the paper, and I'm just going to lightly dab this on, ready for adding the ink. And I'm going to be starting at the bottom of the sky with the Victorian Velvet, which is the pinky colour. Build up to the purple and then add a small amount of that dark blue at the top. I want this to mainly be a pinky purple kind of sunset sky without too much blue. You could use all different kind of distress ink colours to create the sky background. For this one I decided to go with a wintry sky, but you could use oranges, yellows and reds for a deeper sunset, or you could use blues for an icy sky. You just have to kind of play around, and I tend to just go with it, see what works, and experiment with different colour combinations. The good thing about these distress inks is that you can, when you water them down quite a bit, you can just keep layering to build up the colour you want, and there are quite a wide range of colours. I find these really versatile. You know, I use them to stamp, I use them to blend, I use them to watercolour. You can do so many things with them. So for me, having these in my collection, I do use them a lot. So once I've got the sky how I want it, I then use my heat tool to dry everything off. As you'll see, as I said earlier, it will warp quite a lot because I've used a lot of water on this page. You can strap it down with some masking tape or painter's tape if you want, but for this I didn't really bother because I knew I was going to adhere it down with some foam tape at the end anyway. For the sentiment on the card, I'm using Mama Elephant's Jingle Greetings, and I'm using the Season's Greetings, which is a really nice long kind of banner sentiment, and I'm going to add that at the bottom with some embossing powder. So again, I'm using my anti-static tool, and then I'm going to be using the Versamark embossing ink, and then as always using my favourite Ranger's Liquid Platinum embossing powder. I do use other embossing powders, but this one has to be my favourite by far. It's a beautiful colour, and I think it goes really well with this card as well. So once I've got that embossing powder onto the card, I'm just going to use my heat tool to set this nicely, and then you will see that I flip this over and I use my heat tool on the back, which just helps flatten out that warped paper a little bit before I then go on to the finishing touches of the card. So I'm just going to add some snow. You can't really see this on the camera, unfortunately. I should have zoomed in at this point, but I'm using a jelly roll pen in white just to add some little dots in the background to add some flecks of snow before I adhere this to my card base. For my adhesive, I'm using the Scotch 3mm foam tape. I'm just adding a lot of this on the back because again it will help keep it flat because this is a warped piece of card, and I'm going to add this to my card base, and then that will finish up the card. Please leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear your feedback on what you think of these cards and if it inspires you to do something similar, or I'd love to see what you guys are creating too. So please leave me a like, comment and subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, and I'll be back next week with another video. Bye.